It was 10 years ago yesterday that Daniel Bryan shed the skin of the Wyatt family on Monday Night Raw. One of the best moments of Bryan Danielson's entire career, and he doesn't remember any of it because he was concussed. It was a cage match. It was Bryan and Bray Wyatt against the Usos. The Wyatt family had made Bryan their target. Eventually, he fell in line. He joined with them. People were pissed because it looked like his chances of challenging for the WWE title at WrestleMania were between slim and none. Thankfully, the angle ended after only 3 weeks. They probably could have gotten some more mileage out of it, but it certainly wasn't the story that, if you were a Daniel Bryan fan or a fan of good storytelling in WWE, it was not the story that you wanted to see carry this man into WrestleMania. So thankfully, it terminated after 3 weeks. But it did give us one of the greatest moments in WWE history. There was a moment in that match where Bryan, I think he got knocked off the cage. Bray got accidentally crotched on the top rope. The Usos escaped, and they picked up the win. And then we had this great showdown in the ring, in the cage. Just two men, Bryan and Bray. And Bryan was just this dead stare in his eyes. It looked like he was going to drop to his knees and fall in line again with Bray. He was going to allow Bray to hit him with his sister Abigail. But this time he spun out of it. And when he did that, the fans knew exactly what that meant. They had been waiting for him to just kind of break free of this grip, this spell that they seemingly had over him. And everybody in the building, and I think they were in Providence. They might have been in Rhode Island that night. It's not like some well-known great wrestling city. But boy, it didn't matter back then during that period, late 2013 into 2014, what city you were in. Pretty much every city went nuts for Daniel Bryan. There are few people that I can think of in the last 10 to 15 years in wrestling, not just WWE, who were over at the level that Daniel Bryan was. That's why there were so many comparisons back then made between Bryan and Austin. Not that he was doing the kind of business that Austin did, or he was some sort of mainstream crossover star that Stone Cold was, but just in terms of the organic reactions that he was getting from the audience, we had not seen anything like that since the days of Stone Cold Steve Austin. He spun out of the sister Abigail, and Bray was calling him a coward, and he went to go attack him, and Bryan sidestepped him, and he fought back. For the first time, he fought back against this guy. And then he gave him the yes kicks, and with every kick, everybody was chanting yes, and we kind of take it for granted now because it happens all the time. But this was a unique thing at that time. For him to have that kind of crowd control is like nothing I had ever seen. And it ended with him putting his fingers up in the air very slowly. And I would love to know, by the way, if that's something that they told him to do, or more likely it's just the sort of thing he maybe came up with on his own. But he slowly begins to point his fingers up into the air, and he picks up more and more speed, and they get this great wide shot of the crowd. You can even at one point see Michael Cole turn to Jerry Lawler, as if to be like, can you believe what's going on here? And with the entire arena chanting yes, he delivers the running knee strike. He climbs up to the top of the cage, and again, he does the yes stuff. Everybody's yesing along with him. You would watch the end of that show and think, my God, this is the top star in the entire company. Surely this guy is going to win the Royal Rumble. He's going to go on to WrestleMania. And it's hard to believe that even at that point, at that late stage in mid-January, that close to the Rumble, it's WrestleMania season, they still had this guy slotted 6th from the top on the undercard in a match against Sheamus. But in the end, it all worked out, and we ended up getting one of the greatest moments, really, and greatest finishes in WrestleMania history. Bryan gave Bray the best matches of his career. Outside of those Shield Wyatt family matches, he gave Bray Wyatt the best matches of his career. He was the best opponent that Bray ever had. Go watch their 2 matches at the Royal Rumble. Even their Survivor Series match in 2019 with the stupid red light. Up to that point, it was the best match in the Fiend character. And then they topped it with their strap match at the Royal Rumble. It's hard to believe it's already been 10 years. It's even harder to believe that 2 of the men involved in that segment are no longer with us.